Earth had maintained its position for 37 years, while the galaxy burned in endless conflict between the Terran Liberation Front and the Void Collective. Humanity watched from behind their shields and said no to everyone. Admiral Park. Minho stood on the bridge of Sanctuary Station, Earth's primary orbital defense platform. The massive station rotated slowly above Earth's blue surface, its quantum shields shimmering like roller against the black of space. Through the reinforced viewport, he could see the sleek ships of yet another diplomatic convoy approaching Earth's boundary markers. The blue-skinned Altarians had come calling again, their third attempt this year to recruit humanity for their war effort. The war had been raging for over a century now. What started as a territorial dispute between two alien civilizations had consumed half the galaxy. Entire star systems had been reduced to rubble, billions of lives lost. Refugee ships floated through space like ghost vessels, carrying the survivors of dead worlds. Minho remembered the first time he saw footage of a Void Collective planet Cracker in action. The massive ship, easily the size of Earth's moon, had positioned itself above a coalition world and fired a single beam that split the planet in half. 20 billion people died in seconds. That was when Earth's leaders decided they wanted no part of this madness. Admiral, incoming transmission from the Altarian flagship, reported Lieutenant Kim Soy from her communications station. Her fingers danced across holographic controls as she filtered the alien signal through Earth's translation matrix. The young officer had been born during the war years, but like most humans, she knew of the conflict only through news broadcasts and military briefings. The bridge around them hummed with quiet efficiency. Dozens of Earth's finest officers monitored sensor arrays that could detect a single ship jumping into hyperspace from 3 star systems away. The defensive capabilities they displayed to the galaxy were impressive enough to keep most aggressive species at bay. But Minho knew they were just the tip of the iceberg. Put them through, Minho replied, straightening his uniform. The familiar face of Ambassador Velter appeared on the main screen, his expression a mixture of desperation and frustration. The Altarian's blue skin had taken on a greyish tinge, and his usually perfect diplomatic composure showed cracks round the edges. Admiral Park, surely you must reconsider. The Void Collective has taken 3 more systems this month. Your defensive technologies could turn the tide of this war. Velter's voice carried the weight of someone who had watched his civilization slowly lose ground for decades. Behind the ambassador, Minho could see other Altarian officers studying tactical displays. Their ships were beautiful works of art, flowing curves and crystalline structures that caught starlight like jewels. But beauty meant nothing against the brutal efficiency of void war machines. Minho's response was the same as always. Ambassador, Earth's position remains unchanged. We offer humanitarian aid to refugees and medical supplies to both sides. But we will not participate in this conflict. Turn your ships round. The truth was more complicated than that simple statement. Earth's neutrality wasn't born from cowardice or indifference. When the first alien ships had arrived at Earth's borders 40 years ago, humanity had faced a choice: join one side or the other in their ancient war, or forge a third path. They chose independence, but independence required strength. Velter's shoulders sagged. Admiral, you have no idea what's coming. The Void Collective isn't just conquering worlds anymore. They're consuming them. Entire species are being processed into biomass to fuel their war machine. Soon there won't be anything left to save. Down on Earth's surface, in the rural valleys of what was once called Montana, Farmer Lee Jin-ho tended to his crops with his wife Choi Erim and their 2 children, minus 1-year-old Tai-ho and 5-year-old Minna. The war felt distant here, like something that happened in stories rather than real life. Jin-ho had served in Earth's defense forces years ago, but now he preferred the peace of growing food and raising his family. The farm stretched across rolling hills that had been in Aram's family. For generations, their home was simple but comfortable, with solar collectors on the roof and a small fusion generator in the basement. The children played in fields of golden wheat while their parents worked. Their laughter carrying across the valley like music. Jinho often looked up at the night sky and wondered about the ships passing overhead. Supply convoys heading to refugee camps en masse. Diplomatic vessels carrying messages between the warring factions. Sometimes, if he knew where to look, he could spot the distant gleam of sanctuary station shields. The Global Defense Council, led by Director Son Haijan, maintained Earth's neutrality through a combination of advanced shield technology and carefully balanced diplomacy. Their policy was simple. Earth's solar system was a sanctuary zone, and any military vessel that entered without permission would be escorted out by force. Haijan operated from a secure facility beneath the Swiss Alps, coordinating with defense installations throughout the solar system. The Council's public face was diplomatic and peaceful, but their private discussions often involved weapon systems and military readiness reports that would have surprised the galaxy's warring faction. Earth's refugee camps housed over 50 million displaced beings from across the galaxy. Humans worked alongside alien doctors to treat species they'd never encountered before. Children who had lost their worlds played together despite speaking different languages and breathing different atmospheres. It was proof that peace was possible, even in a galaxy torn apart by war. This policy had worked for decades. The warring factions respected Earth's boundaries because humanity had proven they could defend them, and because neutral worlds were useful for prisoner exchanges and peace negotiations. Earth had become the galaxy's Switzerland, hosting diplomatic meetings and providing medical aid to both sides. But policies, like shields, only work until someone decides to test them. The Coalition frigate Starfall limped through space, its hull breached in 17 places and life support failing. Sparks flew from damaged control panels as the ship spun helplessly through the void. Captain Nexmiron clutched the data core containing intelligence about the Void Collective's planet killer weapon as his ship fell toward the blue world below. The battle had been a massacre. Nexmiron's entire fleet of 23 ships had been ambushed near the Kepler system. The Void Collective had used some kind of new cloaking technology that made their vessels invisible until they opened fire. Within minutes, the Coalition force was scattered debris floating through space. "Captain, we're losing attitude control," his navigator reported, her reptilian features twisted with pain. Green blood leaked from a gash across her forehead. "The humans' defense platforms are hailing us through the cracked viewport." Nexmiron could see Earth's defensive grid coming online. Massive stations emerged from stealth mode, their weapon rays tracking the falling ship. The humans were thorough. He had to give them that. Their sensor nets could detect a mosquito landing on their moon. "Tell them we're making an emergency landing," Nexmiron gasped, purple blood seeping from wounds across his scaled chest. His species had survived in the harsh deserts of Kepler for a 3-8b for millions of years. But plasma burns were plasma burns no matter what planet you came from. "We have information that could save billions of lives." The data core in his clawed hands contained the locations of 17 Void Collective planet killers. Ships so massive they could crack worlds in half with a single focused beam. The Coalition had lost 3 entire star systems to these monsters in the past month alone. If this information reached the right people, maybe the tide of war could finally turn. The Starfall crashed in Jinho's wheat field on a Tuesday morning. The ship came down like a meteor, carving a burning trench through the golden grain before slamming into the hillside. The explosion shook the farmhouse windows and sent the children running to their parents. Birds scattered from the trees in panic, while the family dog howled at the unfamiliar sounds. Jinho grabbed his old service rifle from the closet, his hands moving with the muscle memory of his military days. The weapon was an antique compared to the plasma rifles carried by space marines. But it had served him well during Earth's border skirmishes with pirates and raiders. Aram called the authorities while peering out the window at the smoking crater where their wheat field used to be. Stay inside with the children. Jinho told his wife, checking his rifle's charge. This could be dangerous. The wreckage was still hot when he reached it. Twisted metal and strange alien alloys lay scattered across the burned earth. The ship's design was unlike anything in Earth's databases, sleek curves that suggested speed and grace, now broken and torn. Emergency lights blinked weakly in the debris. Inside the twisted metal, 3 alien survivors clung to life. Captain Nexmiron lay pinned beneath a fallen beam, his breathing shallow and labored. His navigator had lost consciousness while there. Engineer moved weakly among the sparking consoles, despite the protocols that said to wait for a military response teams. Jinho couldn't watch sentient beings suffer. His father had always taught him that mercy was what separated civilization from barbarism. He and Aram pulled the aliens from the wreckage and brought them into their home, laying them on the living room floor while Taiho and Minna watched with wide eyes. "Are they going to be okay, Papa?" Little Minna asked, her small hand reaching toward Nexmiron's scaled face. "I don't know, sweetheart," Jinho replied, using the family's medical supplies to treat the aliens' wounds as best he could. "But we're going to try to help them." Captain Nexmiron was conscious enough to hand Jinho the data core. The device was small, about the size of a human thumb, but it pulsed with internal light that suggested incredible complexity. "Keep this safe," he whispered in broken standard. "The Void Fleet. They come for us. Don't let them have it." The aliens' eyes were nothing like human eyes. They were larger, with pupils that contracted and expanded independently. But Jinho could see desperation there, and something that might have been hope. "What is it?" he asked. "Death," Nexmiron whispered. "Death of worlds. They build ships that eat planets. This has their locations, please, the Void Collective." Ships arrive 6 hours later, dropping out of hyperspace like black thunder clouds against the stars. 3 massive destroyers, each one larger than Earth's biggest cities, descended through the atmosphere with the casual arrogance of apex predators. Their hulls were dark metal that seemed to absorb light, and their weapon rays glowed with ominous red energy. Earth's defense platforms immediately went active, demanding identification and withdrawal. Admiral Park Minho's voice echoed from orbit. "Unknown vessels. You are violating Earth's sovereign space. Withdraw immediately or face defensive action." Commander Thakma laughed as he monitored the human transmissions. The Void Commander stood nearly 3 meters tall, his exoskeleton covered in scars from 1,000 battles. His species had evolved as hunters on a world where everything tried to kill everything else, and diplomacy was a concept they found amusing. Defensive action. Thakma's voice was like grinding metal. "From these primitives, they have no idea what real war looks like." The Void landing craft ignored Earth's warnings and descended toward the farm. Thakma led the boarding party that spread out in a search pattern, their heavy armor clanking against the earth. Each soldier carried weapons that could level buildings, and their targeting systems could track individual heartbeats from a kilometer away. Primitive world. Thakma sneered as he examined the simple farmhouse. Solar panels and wind generators looked pathetic compared to the fusion reactors that powered Void War machines. The humans posed no threat. Jinho stepped onto his porch, rifle in hand. His family stood behind him in the doorway, Aram holding Minna while Taiho clutched his mother's dress. The Coalition survivors lay unconscious on the living room floor, their alien blood staining the family's furniture. "This is Earth territory," Jinho said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "You have no authority here." Dagmar's response was a plasma blast that vaporized the porch railing. The wooden rails simply ceased to exist, leaving behind only glowing particles that drifted away like fireflies. "We seek Coalition fugitives. Stand aside, or be removed." The Void soldiers spread out around the house, their weapons trained on the human family. Their armor was black as space, covered in sensors and targeting systems that painted laser dots across the farmhouse walls. Each soldier was a walking weapons platform capable of destroying tanks. When Jinho refused to move, the Void soldiers opened fire. Aram died first, shielding their children with her body as plasma bolts tore through the doorway. Her body crumpled, smoke rising from the burns across her chest. Little Tayo and Minna fell necks, cut down by energy weapons as they tried to run to their father. Jinho's scream of rage echoed across the valley as he emptied his rifle into the nearest Void soldier, T. Heat projectiles struck the alien's armor but barely scratched the surface, each bullet flattening uselessly against advanced materials. Dagmar killed him with casual indifference, a single plasma bolt that left nothing but ash and memory. The Void soldiers searched the ruins methodically, their scanners detecting the Coalition survivors and the data core. They loaded the dying aliens into transport pods, while Thakmer examined the small device that contained the locations of their planet-killer fleet. "Interesting," the commander mused. "The Coalition managed to penetrate our security. No matter. This information dies with them." As the Void ships departed Earth's atmosphere, they left behind for graves and one surviving witness. Park Dong-yuk, Jinho's neighbor, had watched the massacre through binoculars from his hilltop home. His hands shook as he recorded everything, the camera capturing images that would change the course of galactic history. The aliens had made their fatal mistake. They had knocked on the wrong door. And now Earth would answer with fury that would shake the stars themselves. The footage played on every screen across Earth within 12 hours. Park Dong-yuk's shaking hands had captured everything. The plasma blasts tearing through the farmhouse, Aram's desperate attempt to shield her children, little Tayo and Minna falling in their own doorway. The images spread like wildfire across Earth's networks, from the bustling streets of Seoul to the remote research stations in Antarctica. Director Song Haijan watched the security feeds from her office in Geneva, her hands clenched into fists as she witnessed the murder of innocents. On sovereign Earth soil, she had seen war footage before. The galaxy was full of battlefields and burning worlds. But this was different. This was home. This was family. The office round her buzzed with activity as staff members fielded calls from world leaders, military, commanders, and angry citizens. Outside her window, she could see protesters gathering in the streets, holding signs demanding justice for the Lee family. Earth's peaceful population was transforming before her eyes, awakening to a fury they had never known they possessed. "Ma'am," her aide Yoon-salman said quietly, "the Global Assembly is demanding immediate action. 17 member nations have already authorized military response. The Chinese premier says his people are ready to march tomorrow. The American president is recalling all space forces to active duty." Salman's usual calm was cracking. He had children too, twin daughters who played in the same parks where human and alien refugee children had learned to laugh together. The violation felt personal to every parent on Earth. Haijan closed her eyes and made the decision that would end Earth's neutrality forever. The weight of it settled on her shoulders like gravity from a dead star. Activate Project Blackout. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity has been building, deep beneath the Gobi Desert. Dr. Kim Jae-won received the authorization codes he'd hoped he would never need. The underground facility stretched for kilometers in every direction, a vast complex hidden beneath sand dunes and ancient rock formations. For 30 years, Project Blackout had operated in absolute secrecy, developing military technologies while Earth maintained its peaceful facade to the galaxy. Jaywin's hands trembled as he entered the activation sequence. Round him, his team of scientists and engineers watched in silence. They had spent decades creating weapons of unimaginable power, telling themselves it was just theoretical research, just insurance against a dark future that might never come. That future had arrived. Initiate full production protocols. Jaywin ordered his team. His voice echoed through the cavernous facility as manufacturing systems that had waited patiently for decades roared to life. I want the first squadron ready for deployment in 72 hours. The hidden shipyards throughout the solar system came alive like sleeping giants awakening. On the far side of the moon, vast hangar doors opened in what appeared to be empty craters, revealing construction facilities that had been carving warships from asteroid metal for 3 decades. The ships were beautiful and terrible, sleek predators designed by human minds that understood both engineering and warfare. In hollowed-out asteroids drifting through the belt, robotic systems began final assembly on vessels that incorporated technology the galaxy had never seen. Human innovation had taken alien concepts and twisted them into something new and deadly. Quantum drives that could fold space-time, energy weapons that fed on the target's own mass, armor that grew stronger under fire, within Jupiter's radiation. Shadow, the largest shipyard of all, prepared humanity's crown jewel, the dreadnought ***. The massive vessel was 3 kilometers long and packed with enough firepower to level continents. Its AI core had been learning human military history for decades, studying every battle from ancient Troy to the Mars Rebellion. Admiral Park Min-ho received new orders that transformed him from defender to avenger. His peaceful orbital stations suddenly became forward command posts for a war machine that had been hidden in plain sight. The defensive platforms he commanded were just the visible part of Earth's military. The real weapons had been waiting in the shadows. The ships under his command bore names that would soon become whispered threats across the galaxy. *Retribution*, *Vengeance*, *Iron Will*, and *Last Stand*. Each vessel carried the hopes of a species that had chosen war over subjugation and the grief of a world that had lost its innocence. Captain Osumon took command of the lead assault vessel, the destroyer *Righteous Fury*. He was young for a captain, but he had trained his entire life for this moment. His family had been farmers too, generations ago, before they moved to the cities. He understood what the Lee family had represented, the simple dream of growing food and raising children in peace. Reading the mission parameters filled him with grim satisfaction. The target was the Void Collective forward base at Kepler 442, where intelligence suggested the raiders were celebrating their successful Earth operation. Thakma and his butchers thought they had gotten away with murder. They were about to learn otherwise. The crew of *Righteous Fury* moved with deadly efficiency as they prepared for humanity's first strike. These weren't the peaceful explorers and diplomats the galaxy knew. These were warriors trained in secret facilities and hardened by years of preparation. Every human aboard had volunteered for this mission knowing they might not return to Earth's First War Fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, hide and broadcast a message to both warring factions. Her face appeared on screens throughout Coalition and Void Space, her expression carved from ice and fury. For 37 years, Earth remained neutral because we believed in peace. You have shown us that peace is a luxury the galaxy will not permit. From this moment forward, humanity is at war. We will find those responsible for the massacre of the Lee family, and we will make them pay. This is your only warning. Stay away from Earth. The message sent shockwave through both alien factions. The peaceful humans were supposed to be farmers and diplomats, not soldiers. Intelligence agencies scrambled to understand how Earth had hidden such military capability. Where had these ships come from? How long had humanity been preparing for war? The jump drives engaged with a sound like reality tearing apart. One by one, the human warships vanished into hyperspace, leaving only the memory of their passage and the promise of vengeance to come. Humanity stepped into the larger war with blood in their eyes and fury in their hearts. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when you killed a human child in front of their parents that had chosen peace for decades. But now they would teach the stars the true meaning of war. The awakening was complete. The sleeping giant had opened its eyes, and nothing would ever be the same. The Void Collective base at Kepler 442 was supposed to be impregnable. The massive station hung in space like a metallic spider, its arms stretching out in all directions, surrounded by minefields that could vaporize battleships and defended by 3 battle cruisers. It served as a staging point for raids into coalition territory. The base housed over 50,000 Void soldiers and contained enough firepower to level planets. Commander Thakma had returned there, confident that the primitive humans would file a protest stand. Do nothing more. In his quarters aboard the command station, he displayed trophies from his raid on Earth: Jinho's old service rifle, a photo of the Lee family, and the melted remains of their front door. To Thakma, these were proof of human weakness. He was drinking fermented kettle and bragging to his officers about how easily the humans had died when the alarms began screaming. The liquid in his glass vibrated as the station's defensive systems came online. Red warning lights bathed the corridors in blood-colored shadows. Report. Thakma barked as he rushed to the command center, his massive frame pushing through corridors filled with running soldiers. His scarred exoskeleton clinked against the metal walls as he moved. Unknown ships dropping out of hyperspace. His sensor operator replied, his voice tight with fear. The aliens multiplied tracked readings across holographic displays that showed space around the base. Configuration matches no known designs. They're moving too fast. On the main screen, Thakma saw something that made his blood freeze. 12 ships hung in space where moments before there had been empty void. But these weren't the bulky, heavily armed vessels that dominated galactic warfare. These ships were sleek as knives, black as space itself, and they moved with a predator's grace. Captain Osuman's task force had spent the 3-day journey studying every piece of intelligence Earth possessed. About Void Collective tactics. The human fleet had arrived at the edge of the system and observed the base for 6 hours, their advanced sensors mapping every defensive position and weapon emplacement. The enemy relied on overwhelming firepower and brutal intimidation. Humanity would show them precision and relentless pursuit. All ships, this is Righteous Fury *. Sumwon transmitted from his command chair. Round him, his bridge crew worked with cold efficiency. Target the command center first, then the docking bays. No survivors on any ship that participated. In the Earth raid, the human ships moved like nothing the Void forces had ever seen. Where alien vessels were built for maximum firepower, human designs emphasized speed and maneuverability. Quantum tunnel drives allowed them to make micro-jumps during combat, appearing and disappearing in patterns that confused enemy targeting systems. The first human ship, the destroyer Iron Will seemed to fold in on itself and reappear inside the minefield. The void mines, designed to detonate when they detected large masses, couldn't track the human vessel's quantum signature. Iron Will fired once, and the base's primary shield generator exploded in a ball of white fire. Lieutenant Commander Nam Yori piloted her fighter through the enemy formation. weaving between plasma bolts that turned space into a deadly light show. Her eye-assisted targeting system painted threats faster than any organic mind could process. The fighter's wings could fold and extend like a living bird, and its engines could vector thrust in impossible directions. Fox 1, engaging enemy fighters. Yuri reported as she rolled beneath a Void interceptor. Her weapons lock-chipped, and twin missiles streaked toward the enemy ship. The Void pilot tried to evade, but human missiles were smart. They anticipated the enemy's moves and adjusted their course accordingly. The Void fighters tried to match her movements, but found themselves outmaneuvered by a human. Intuition combined with artificial intelligence, where alien pilots relied on computer-assisted targeting. Human pilots used instinct honed by millions of years of hunting. They could sense where an enemy would be before the enemy knew it themselves. Impossible. Thakma roared as he watched his fighter screen dissolve under the human assault. They're just farmers, just diplomats. The human ships danced through his formations like wolves among sheep, every time his gunners thought they had a target locked. The human vessel would quantum jump to a new position and strike from an unexpected angle. The destroyer Vengeance appeared directly above the base's command tower and fired a single shot that punched through 30 meters of armor plating. Thakma's battle cruisers attempted to bring their main guns to bear, but the human ships were too fast and too unpredictable. The cruiser Bone Crusher fired a spread of plasma torpedoes that should have vaporized the human flagship, but Righteous Fury simply wasn't there when the weapons arrived. The ship had quantum jumped behind the cruiser and was already firing into its engine compartments. This is impossible, Thakma muttered as his battle cruisers fell one by one to the human assault. They're just primitives. The human Marines came next. Their assault shuttles looked like angry wasps as they swarmed through the base's broken defenses. Each shuttle carried a squad of soldiers in powered armor that made them look like mechanical demons. The armor was painted matte black with silver skulls, a human symbol that the Void forces would learn to fear. The base fell in 40 minutes, when the shooting stopped. The corridors were filled with smoke and the screams of wounded aliens. Human soldiers moved through the station with methodical precision, securing key areas and gathering intelligence. They showed no mercy to any Void soldier who had participated in the Earth raid. Soon one's Marines boarded the command station and dragged Thakma to the communication center. The Void commander's exoskeleton was cracked in 3 places, and purple blood leaked from wounds across his body. He looked up at the human captain with something that might have been respect, or might have been terror. The human captain's face appeared on screens throughout Void space as he made an announcement that chilled every alien who heard it. His voice was calm, almost conversational, but his eyes burned with fury that could melt steel. I am Captain Osumon of the Earth Defense Force. This station has been destroyed in retaliation for the unprovoked attack on Earth territory and the murder of innocent civilians. We have recovered the personal effects you took as trophies from the Lee family. Any Void collective forces found within 100 light-years of Earth will be hunted down and eliminated. This is not a negotiation. This is a promise. Behind him, Thakma was dragged away in restraints. The alien commander who had laughed at human weakness was now a prisoner of war, destined for a tribunal that would judge his crimes against innocent civilians. News of humanity's entry into the war spread across the galaxy within days. Both the Coalition and the Void Collective scrambled to understand how Earth had hidden such military capability, while neutral worlds began reconsidering their own defensive preparations. The peaceful humans had revealed themselves to be sleeping dragons, and now those dragons were awake and angry. Admiral Park Min-ho established Earth's forward command post in the ruins of Kepler 442, transforming it into humanity's first extraterrestrial military base. From there, Human fleets began systematic strikes against Void installations, each one more devastating than the last. The humans fought with a precision and fury that alien commanders had never encountered. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson. When you threaten a human family, you threaten all of humanity. And humanity, it turned out, was very good at war. 6 months after the Lee family massacre, the Galactic War had fundamentally changed. The galaxy that once knew only two sides now trembled before a third force that fought with surgical precision and relentless fury. Human fleets operated throughout both Void and Coalition space, their black ships appearing wherever civilians needed protection or war crimes demanded justice. The humans had become legends in those 6 months. Stories spread through refugee camps about the black ships that would appear without warning to rescue trapped civilians. Coalition soldiers whispered about the human marines who could fight for days without rest. Driven by a fury that alien minds couldn't comprehend, Void commanders woke from nightmares about ships that could fold space and strike from impossible angles. Admiral Park Min-ho stood in the command center of New Sanctuary humanity's mobile fortress station. The massive vessel was 3 times larger than Earth's regional orbital platforms, packed with manufacturing facilities, medical bays, and command centers that coordinated human operations across dozens of star systems. Through the reinforced viewports, he could see the final phase of Operation Cleanhouse unfold. After months of hunting, they had finally cornered the Void fleet responsible for the Earth raid. The chase had taken them across half the galaxy, through asteroid fields and nebula storms, past the ruins of worlds that had died in the endless war. But humans were patient hunters, and they never forgot a debt of blood. "Admiral, we have them surrounded," reported Captain Lee Soyong from the destroyer Righteous Fury *. Her ship had been the first to engage the Void forces at Kepler 442, and she had volunteered to lead the hunt for a Thakma-S fleet, 12 Void ships, including Thakma-S flagship. Their requesting terms for surrender, the Void fleet hung in space like wounded animals, their black hulls scarred by months of running battles. They had tried to hide in the Magellan Nebula, thinking the radiation storms would mask their signatures. They had underestimated human sensor technology and the relentless pursuit of a species that had decided these particular aliens needed to die. Minho's expression remained cold as winter on Pluto. His family had been farmers too, generations ago, before the cities called them away. He understood what the Lee family had represented, the simple dream of peace that every human carried in their hearts. "Patch me through to all vessels." His face appeared on screens throughout the battle zone as he addressed the trapped Void fleet. Around him, the command center buzzed with quiet activity as human officers coordinated the final assault. These were Earth's best and brightest, turned from peacekeepers into instruments of justice. 6 months ago, you violated Earth sovereignty and murdered innocent civilians. You thought humanity was weak because we chose peace. Today, you learn the price of that mistake. The final battle was swift and decisive. The human ships moved like hunting wolves, coordinating their attacks with precision that spoke to millions of years of pack hunting instincts. Where the Void fleet tried to form defensive positions, human ships quantum jumped behind them. Where they tried to run, faster human vessels cut off their escape routes. The flagship Death's Edge tried to ram New Sanctuary in a desperate final attack. But human point defense systems turned the massive ship into expanding debris before it could close the distance. Thakma-S escape pod was captured as it tried to flee the destruction. The alien commander pulled from the wreckage of his ambitions. The Void survivors were taken into custody to be tried for war crimes under Earth's expanding legal jurisdiction. Human law had evolved rapidly during the war. developing new concepts of justice that covered crimes committed against civilian populations across species lines. Thacma himself was captured alive, though he begged for death when he realized what humanity had in store for those who killed children. Director Son Hai-jan received the transmission from the battlefield in her new office aboard. Diplomacy Earth's mobile embassy. The ship was a city in space, housing diplomats, translators, legal experts, and representatives from dozens of species round her. Screens showed the current state of the galaxy, a three-way balance of power that none of the original factions had anticipated. The war map told the story of humanity's rise. Green zones marked areas under human protection, where civilian populations could live without fear of planet killers or orbital bombardments. Yellow zones showed contested territories where human fleets were actively hunting war criminals. Red zones marked the remaining strongholds of both factions, now increasingly isolated as neutral worlds requested human protection. Ma'am, Jung Salman reported, both the Coalition and Void Collective are requesting formal peace negotiations. They want Earth to mediate. The requests had been coming for weeks now. Both alien factions had discovered that fighting humans was like fighting ghosts. They appeared where you least expected them, struck with devastating force, and vanished before you could retaliate. The economic cost of the war was bankrupting both sides, while human fleets seemed to grow stronger. With each passing month, Hai-jan smiled grimly. Tell them we'll consider it. But first, they need to understand our terms. Full reparations for war damage to civilian populations, immediate ceasefire in all systems with human populations, and complete access to their military leadership. For war crimes tribunals, the terms were non-negotiable. Humanity had entered this war as reluctant participants, but they were ending it as the dominant force. Both alien factions would submit to human justice, or they would face the consequences of defying a species that had turned warfare into an art form on Earth. Park Dong-yu tended the memorial garden he had built where the Lee family farm once stood, for white stones marked the graves of Jin-ho, Ilm, Tai-ho, and Min-er, while a larger black stone bore the names of every human who had died in the war that followed. The garden was beautiful now, filled with flowers from across the galaxy that refugees had brought as offerings. Thousands came to visit the memorial each month, human families bringing their children to understand the price of freedom. Alien refugees offering prayers in languages Earth's computers were still learning to translate. Coalition and Void prisoners, brought under guard to see what their war had cost, often broke down weeping at the sight of the small graves dot as the sun set over the peaceful valley. Dong-yu could see the lights of ships in orbit, the Earth Defense Fleet maintaining a tunnel. Vigilance. The fleet was massive now, with vessels patrolling from Mercury to the Kuiper Belt. Earth would never again be vulnerable to surprise attack. The galaxy had learned that humanity would not be pushed around, and Earth's children would never again die unavenged. The lesson had been written in fire across a dozen star systems, paid for with alien blood and human determination. The war that was supposed to last forever was ending. Not because the combatants had grown tired of fighting, but because humanity had shown them what real strength looked like. Earth hadn't wanted to join the war, but now that they had, they were finishing it on their own terms, with justice for the innocent and consequences for those who harmed them. In the end, the aliens had knocked on the wrong door, and humanity had answered with overwhelming force, unwavering determination, and justice for those who could no longer speak for themselves. The galaxy would remember the Lee family, and it would remember that when you threaten one human, you threaten them. ALLTHE ***.